The cafe was small, dimly lit, and smelled faintly of roasted beans and fresh bread, yet to her, it was both a refuge and a battlefield. Every morning, she tied her apron around her waist, tucked a few stray strands of hair beneath her cap, and stepped out into the world pretending to be invisible. But no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't hide the truth, the long scar that ran from her cheekbone down to the corner of her jaw. It wasn't just a scar. To her, it was a brand, a constant reminder of the accident that had stolen not only her beauty but also her confidence, her dreams, and in many ways, her life. She learned to keep her head bowed, her voice soft, and her heart hidden away where no one could see it. Most customers barely noticed her. To them, she was just another face behind the counter, another hand delivering coffee, another polite smile offered without meaning. But to her, every glance felt like judgment, every whisper like pity. It had been years since she had allowed herself to look someone directly in the eyes without fear. Years since she had allowed hope to stir inside her heart. And yet, on a rainy evening when thunder rattled the cafe's windows and the streets outside glistened with silver puddles, a man walked in who would change everything. He wasn't like the others. His presence filled the room before his words did. Tall, confident, dressed in an immaculate suit that still carried raindrops like tiny diamonds, he looked like someone who belonged to a different world. The world she once dreamed of before life had carved its cruelty across her face. Before we continue, dear friends, if you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the beauty that lives beyond appearances, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who might need it, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to Royal Stories. Your support helps us bring more heart-touching tales to life. She tried to avoid his gaze as she took his order, but his voice was warm, steady, and disarming. She felt something strange stir in her chest when he thanked her with genuine sincerity, as though he actually saw her, not just the uniform she wore or the scars she tried to conceal beneath her hair. For a moment, she dared to glance up, and their eyes met. It was brief, but enough for her heart to tremble with a mix of fear and longing. Over the next few weeks, he came often, always ordering the same black coffee, always sitting at the same corner table, always watching her with quiet attentiveness that unsettled and soothed her at the same time. She tried to convince herself it was just coincidence, that he was just another customer. But deep inside, she knew it was more. She could feel it in the way his gaze lingered when she passed, the way he smiled at her as if he knew a secret she hadn't yet discovered. She didn't know that he was a millionaire. She didn't know his name was Adrian Cole, a man whose face often graced business magazines and headlines. To her, he was just a kind stranger who noticed her in a way no one else had dared in years. But kindness terrified her. She didn't believe she deserved it. She carried her scar like a shield and a prison both, believing it was the first and last thing anyone would ever see. She avoided mirrors because they told the truth too loudly. At night, when she lay in her small, cold apartment, she would trace the scar with her fingers and whisper to herself, "This is who you are now. No one will ever love you." Yet Adrian's persistence was gentle. He never pushed, never pried. He simply showed up, listened, and left pieces of kindness behind like breadcrumbs. Once, when she spilled coffee and her hands trembled in embarrassment, he simply smiled and said, "It's just coffee. Don't worry." That moment stayed with her for days, echoing louder than the cruel voices she had been battling in her own mind for years. The turning point came one evening when the cafe was almost empty, and she was cleaning tables near his. She felt his eyes on her, and when she finally looked up, he said something that made her breath catch. He told her that scars were not signs of brokenness, but proof of survival. He told her that her scar didn't hide her beauty, it revealed her strength. And then, to her shock, he reached out across the table and took her hand in his, as though daring the entire world to challenge that truth. For the first time in years, she cried. Not out of shame, but out of something she had almost forgotten existed, hope. What followed was not an easy journey. She fought against her own fears, against the belief that she was unworthy of love, against the whispers of doubt that crept in every time she saw her reflection. But Adrian stood by her, not as a savior, not as someone trying to fix her, but as someone who simply refused to let her forget her worth. His wealth didn't impress her, nor did he flaunt it. What mattered was that he made her feel seen, heard, and valued for who she was beneath the scar. Slowly, she began to lift her head a little higher. She dared to wear her hair back in a loose braid instead of letting it fall like a curtain over her face. She dared to laugh without covering her mouth, to dream without fear. For the first time in years, she began to imagine a future where love was possible, where she was not defined by the accident that had scarred her, but by the strength it had awakened within her. And as their bond deepened, she realized that sometimes the most extraordinary love stories are not written in ballrooms or under glittering chandeliers, but in quiet cafes on rainy evenings, between two people who dared to see beyond what the world chose to notice. If this story touched your heart, dear friends, please support us by liking this video, subscribing to Royal Stories, and sharing it with others who need to be reminded that scars, whether seen or unseen, do not define us. Comment below what part of the story spoke to you most, and help us spread a little more kindness in the world. Special request. Before you go, please leave a comment with one word that describes how this story made you feel.